Today we're talking about top 7 Alex Becker AI coin picks. Should you be buying into them? Are they garbage projects? Are there new revolutionary AI technology that will actually send them to billions moving further? We have to figure out, can you trust influencers in the first place? And what are the gems between the projects that they mentioned? And what are the projects that probably will not be performing that well moving further? A range of Alex Becker AI projects did very well thus far. We have to figure out what will be happening with them moving further. We're also talking about AI agents hype, and the reason why AI agents are actually moving like crazy currently. We saw some AI agents picks by the end of this video as well. Like this video. Nah, I'm serious. Like this video. Just pop up your phone, click the like button, helps the channel to grow. Like this video. And without further ado, let's start. Great to be back from jail. First of them is Neo Protocol. To be honest, I was never a huge fan of Neo Protocol, mainly because of the fact that the push of Neo Protocol felt kind of forced. Only people that were talking about it were influencers, only people that were able to make money on it were influencers as well, and they were essentially just using dumb retail inflows to buy into this thing. Although if you were longing on leverage, right, or if you were entering with size at the bottoms, you were definitely ones who were able to make some money on it. And one of the charts out there that is present for Neo Protocol that is showing that it should be breaking out from this cup and handle, huge cup and handle structure, right, breaking out through this resistance. We kind of got one breakout recently with the breakout of Ethereum, but as we've seen, it was a fake breakout to kick off distribution of certain assets out there, with the short-term targets of $11 and $22. We can also see that the cycle bottom was at $1. So this thing is actually up, and the local high is 8x from the bottom of the bear market and some around 5x till the current level. Would I be buying myself on spot? No, I will not. Would I recommend you to be buying this yourself on spot? Well, if you're looking for 2, 3, maybe like 4x, you might be doing that, because a range of the assets, they should essentially at least repeat the chart of the Dogecoin out there, right? So they should at least be pumping above these levels, and they should at least be showing 2x price movement from these levels out there, which is around $16 for near, which is exactly around 3x from the current levels if you're buying at this stage. Will I be buying this on spot currently myself? No, I will not. May I actually loan it? I think for a loan, if you are getting a very nice entry point, this should be quite nice. And price action wise, I do think it will be showing another low as a range of things on the marketplace, which would be a very nice loan from there. Well, the only issue is that if this low would just be the first one, and then we will enter a long-term consolidation right after, then obviously your loan entry right here won't be the ideal, but the expectation essentially is that we're seeing this first low and then we're reversing from there. I was talking to you about this overview on the range of alts and BTC. I think I was actually one of the first who shared this type of overview, but currently I see more and more people start talking about us seeing one new low before the eventual alt season, and that this is the reason I'm becoming quite cautious about the things that are happening. Cross-chain transfer volume on NEAR, we can also see that it's quite nice in comparison to other things out there. It's definitely growing. It's essentially eating up things like Ethereum, even things like Base, things like Arbitrum as well. So the ecosystem is quite active, although from the personal point of view, from the things I feel in this marketplace, I definitely want to say so. Top 10 chains by daily active addresses in 2024, and we can see that NEAR is actually at the top, right? And like the reason I'm telling you that it was like a huge forced push is because I've seen one of the largest Russian speaking influencers essentially doing a video with NEAR founder. NEAR founder is Russian speaking as well, but 100% that was a paid activity out there. And that's why I'm essentially saying that all this push with US, with Western influencers, with like the main narrative is that the guy used to develop AI and the guy has a photo with the founder of NVIDIA. Very nice. Top AI projects by social activity. We can also see NEAR is doing quite nicely right here. Where is NEAR? NEAR is number 6 at this stage. Well, a lot of the things are just vaporware in the first place. Like something like Render, it's crazy. To me, it's absolutely crazy that Render has the market cap that it actually has. It definitely shows you how things are overvalued on the crypto market. And if we'll just go to zero from these levels, people will definitely just say, well, all these things, they were overvalued anyway. They did not have anything beneath them. Total and circulating supply, near supply statistics. We can also see that most of the supply is circulating for this thing, which means that you cannot expect huge dumpage happening from the VCs, from early insiders. It's quite an old token out there, so most of the coins are in the market at this stage. I would say it's quite like a stable loan from the lows, and I do think that if you wanted to enter a near loan position, you can probably start to build it with low leverage from these levels. Absolutely understanding that moving further, it might and probably will go slightly lower, where you would essentially be adding into your loan. But just to be safe, in case we just pump from here, building loan position from these levels, I do think is a very nice thing to implement as well. Again, would I be buying this on spot? No. I think this is the coin that you may have like 1 to 2 to 3 maximum coins in your portfolio as these large market cap players out there, right? With you essentially betting on the fact that they will be seeing a certain amount of access in the marketplace eventually, right? And just stable peaks. Anyway, the time frame is quite short for the alt season to happen cycle-wise, right? Until April, May, we should be seeing way larger prices in altcoins out there, and even like a 3x until May on a high liquidity thing where you can go with size that you can actually leverage loan is pretty nice deal, because you're not even getting these like in any type of like Web2 stuff, any type of businesses out there. It's a very nice bet from the risk reward point of view on something like this. 3x until April, right? Downside is pretty much, you can see the downside as well, right? Essentially everything can go to zero, but from this point of view, with you entering with size and experiencing 3x almost guaranteed if the market don't die till April, is a pretty nice bet if you would ask me. Akash Network. The name of the project sounds Indian. It's like Indian guy called Akash, right? This essentially is from AI, but it also have this real world asset narrative underneath it, right? The chart situation is pretty much similar, but I do like this chart a bit more, right? Because it definitely shows us going into the new lows. And I actually do like the price action on this chart a lot, because it shows that we will have a giant wick down. Imagine this is a 30% movement down on something like Akash, right? This is a large cap. Imagine what will be happening with your lower caps that you might be sitting on leverage on. Like just seeing this chart, I'm thinking about closing some like part of my high leverage loan out there, right? And just add everything into the margin just to not get liquidated, right? And just to have funds to essentially add to my position here at the bottoms, right? And then then we definitely will have a relief bounce. People will be thinking that we're essentially going higher from there. And right after, we are going lower into the short-term consolidation, forming a new range here for several months out there. This one is crazy because it does not show the price movement since May. But structurally, I do like this chart way more on the potential situation that might be happening on altcoins moving further. Like this is something I do think it might be happening, although I do think that the timings should be shorter. I don't think that consolidation should continue till May, but imagine 5 more months of nothing happening on altcoins. It would be just deadly for the marketplace. I created a time lapse to showcase the daily fees collected on the Akash network from March 8, 2021 to December 9th, 2024. Today marks a significant milestone as Akash has reached a new all-time high in daily network fees. Quite an important metric if you would ask, and essentially in investment in crypto, you should always follow metrics like this. You should follow the increase of developers, you should follow the increase of TVL, because oftentimes it leads to the increase of the price of the underlying asset out there. Akash Network is revolutionizing cloud computing, building the Airbnb for the cloud. In the age of AI, whoever controls the GPUs controls the future of AI. A bet on Akash is a bet on America. Wow. So essentially, I do like this theme a bit more than the render. I do know that numbers there, they are not that inflated, and that they actually have some real users and some real usage that is happening on the network in comparison to something like render, right? So from this point of view, it should be quite a nice nice thing to potentially put your money into. And we can also see that essentially this chart that shows daily network fees is kind of growing and following the bull market. It's kind of following the chart of altcoins in the current bull market as well. So this is actually one of the bets that I kind of like as your mid-cap AI bet for this cycle, right? Revenue reached a record high of 300K, marking a 73% increase quarter to quarter. Well, guys, this is crazy, because if they only reach 300K revenue in a quarter, right? Let's say it's like 1.5 million a year. We can easily calculate the valuation for something like this. Kind of like a SaaS product, right? Definitely has a token. But if you would put like even 20x multiplier, which is like top of the market for things like this, right? It would put it at somewhere around $30 million. And this thing is, I think it's around $500 million in crypto market cap. Like, these things are undervalued, these things are overvalued like crazy if you would essentially try to value them as default businesses out there, right? But this is the beauty of crypto, and I do think that if you're holding Akash, you can probably expect 5 to 6x moving further. I would definitely try to look for the long setups on these things, but when we would probably be, and if we will be in the stronger dip out there. Next thing is AIOZ is doing quite well, right? Following this chart, not all of alts actually have this chart at this stage. Top projects by price performance in the last year. We can see a bunch of meme coins here, right? And we can see AIOZ here. So a very, very small amount of altcoins were able to actually be present on this list. And this is one of them. The real question is whether or not they should be buying it, because pretty much projects that were performing, they usually have the reason for the performance in the first place. And if you're able to scoop them up on a dip, especially for leverage, right? It's just a very, very nice play out there. Well, if we will be entering like a multi-month consolidation on altcoin assets, as we've seen on the potential chart of Akash Network out there, it would be just generational loan building entries out there, right? This is some technical analysis on the chart of AIOZ, high range back into the range. So it's essentially at the deciding point market-wise, and I would say like the general altcoin market is at the deciding point, right? It had similar type of breakout recently as Ethereum did, but unfortunately it was a fake breakout on Ethereum. Right now it's even outperforming Ethereum currently. And the real question is truly whether or not we are going back into the range, which is, I actually like this TA for the cash and for AIOZ currently. I do like this TA. The real question is whether or not we're going back into the range, which means that we are dumping heavily from here, almost 50% on this thing, which is the bottom of the range. We are getting a relief bounce. People will be screaming for us going higher, and then we're getting sent back to multi-month consolidation right after. Or if we're going essentially higher and moving higher from there. Well, current stage definitely does not have a lot of excitement on the marketplace, and it feels like the party is over, to be honest with you. It feels like we should be seeing some relief bounce. And what's interesting is that I used to talk to you about the news about Bitcoin on a daily basis, right? On a daily basis. This feels like a distribution phase. They are distributing too many bullish news on BTC happening. Despite that, I still do think that we should be seeing red January open, and then we should be seeing certain piece of alt season, certain pumpage happening in January. Right after, it would be quite hard to say what will be happening. We should be focusing on the charts to predict the movements right after. This is some price action prediction for the AIOZ as well. The thing here is that essentially follows the upper scenario on the chart that I was just showing, with us just pumping from here. This dip essentially marked as the bottom of the wave BC, right? And us continuing the price action to the wave D, right? And this is essentially another one showing the triangle pattern forming, and this pattern is usually ending up with a certain movement at the end of the whole thing, right? So it's either up or down. Last but not least, a piece of TA on AIOZ chart is W pattern, and that we should be moving higher from here. Yeah, I think I just show you like 4 charts on the AIOZ with exactly different approaches to technical analysis. I do mostly like the first one, right? Because it has like, you should be playing around these things. What is the probability of the bottom thing happening? And what is the probability of the upper thing happening? Unfortunately, I do think there is a high probability at this stage for the bottom thing happening right now. Next thing is Prime. Another very interesting token that I do think mostly influencers were able to make money on, because even at the bottom of the markets, I think the price was like somewhere around the dollar. It did like 10 to 11x's, which is quite nice from one point of view. From the other point of view, it underperformed meme coins heavily. If you were holding longs from the bottom of the cycle, you are doing very, very well on this one. But yeah, it didn't pump as much to the level that everyone was screaming about it, which means that essentially they were selling and insiders were probably selling as well. Exactly similar chart to AIOZ and to the ALTs that were performing quite nicely recently, right? And this is essentially the chart of the ALTs that were doing nice recently. 11 million worth of Prime tokens are now staked after the 2027, as you can see here. Let me remove my face so you can see it, right? 11 million of Prime tokens, which is quite nice. This is definitely a positive scenario for any type of situation that is happening out there. I just staked more Prime with a full lock 3 years on AI Wayfinder. Here's why. 40% of AI Wayfinder supply is going to Prime stakers. That's a lot. AXBT agent mentioned that parallel TCG staking locked 50% of Prime past 2027. The 3-year lock has the highest multiplier, and as someone pointed out back in June, the more Prime locked at the highest multiplier, the worse the ROI gets for lower multipliers. With high conviction whales and many others, this will most likely be the case. If everyone's at 66x and you're at 2x, good luck competing for the supply distribution. The best move is to full lock or buy at TG. Well, this is quite crazy. I do remember myself suffering hardly from the fact that I was not able to sell my staked coins at the peak of the previous cycle, right? And it's very, very interesting. The game plan is definitely very, very interesting here. This guy's probably not paid for this because he only got 5k views on this post, right? But very, very interesting one. And here we're seeing the Prime fractal. Essentially, people are trying to say that the same thing will be playing out, right? That we should be going higher from here because we're printing exactly the same fractal that we printed before. Well, man, this chart does not look nice as well. Like, it's crazy. And it can easily go back into the accumulation area, as bunch of alts will essentially be, and some of the alts will even be printing new lows. Absolutely crazy if this would be happening. In seriously, like, when I'm looking at this TA, when I'm looking at these coins, I'm becoming quite bearish on the future of alts out there, right? But like from the risk reward point of view, from the fact that they were underperforming so harshly for all this time, like if you're even longing currently, you should be longing somewhere near the bottom, to be honest. But I still expect this last move up. I still expect it to be quick, right? So you should probably have your limit orders in place, and then something interesting should be happening. Whether or not we will receive a bounce and then we get sent back into the accumulation, but at least we will have a bounce, right? Will I be recommending to be buying Prime at these levels? I would say no. I don't think it has, like, yeah, it's just, it will probably be heavily underperforming in comparison to other stuff out there. It has all of the influencers, it has all of the possible insiders. They're just shoveling this garbage into the faces of the audiences, into the throats of the audiences, right? And like, even from the narrative point of view, the fact that they're trying to tap into most retail narratives out there, which are AI and gaming, yeah, it's absolutely crazy. With this one, it will grow. I do think it will grow, but I do think it will just underperform. So if we will get sent back into the accumulation around this range right here, I do think it would be very, very nice to start building long position in Prime as well. Over time, something you will be able to hold through the chop and just add in at the nice entry points. I think this one can definitely yield over time. Next thing is PAAL AI. Following this one, you can see that it is at a crazy accumulation at these levels, and it actually did not break out yet. It had a huge fight happening around it, and I think it's one of the coins that Alex Becker loves to mention and loves to talk about out there. 100%. Let's actually figure out whether or not it's worth buying currently, or maybe you should be staying away. Here's the chart of PAAL AI. Definitely did not have the breakout with the recent move on the meme coin market. Although following this chart, it seems to be following, cup and handle out there. The real question for all these coins that didn't perform in the previous pump, and I'm holding some of them to be honest with you, is whether or not with the current possible dumpage, they will essentially be forming new lows. before this level, liquidating pretty much anyone who was longing them from any levels. This would be absolutely crazy out there. Another chart of PAAL AI. Yeah, just following all this technical analysis for a bunch of these coins out there, you can definitely see that depending on the outcome you want, you can pretty much TA anything. We're seeing 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 different approaches to the TA, and they can all say different things out there, right? So here essentially the author is saying that we are in this beautiful corrective channel at this stage, kind of forming a cup as well, right? And we should be pumping higher from here. Let's see how this one will essentially end up. Just a thought process that I found myself recently in is that these alts, they're actually becoming something closer to stocks, right? They have a bunch of insiders in them, which is the main reason why they will underperform heavily, but at the same time they provide this more stable price action to the holders, and people that are not that used to price action fluctuations in crypto, and if they want just to hold something that is more stable, right? Maybe people who made it big in the last cycle and they just want to hold and not focus on the market like much, these might be actually pretty good projects for them, because imagine you bought these somewhere on the April dip or something, right? And it's up like 3x from the dip, and like timing wise, yeah, you had to hold for like 8 months, right? But still it's pretty nice. There are some meme coins that you had to hold for the same amount of time. They're even lower than at the prices that they were at 8 months ago, right? Some of them are at the same prices and nothing is happening for them, right? So it's very, very interesting type of price action and type of focus with these type of coins currently at this stage. So this thing definitely looks like it wants to break out currently. Maybe we can be seeing like a 2x movement till the previous all-time high, and then just following the chart of Dodge, we might be doing 2x more, which will essentially be doing a 4x from these levels. Let's actually check if you can leverage long this thing. Yeah, you definitely can. You have it on Maxi, you have it on Gate. I don't think you would be able to open up a large loan for this thing out there, but yeah, people like Becker, they will definitely continue to push this thing moving further. If you would ask me, will it be at 1 billion this cycle? I would say yes. I think it will be at 1 billion this cycle. Whether or not to buy from these levels, ideally I would want to see another dip, and on this dip, it would be a very, very nice time to be getting into something like this. Next on the list is Hash AI. Chart is very, very similar to Near chart and very, very similar to the AI coin charts that we've seen that were performing quite nicely recently. We also see that it essentially put in place a generational bottom at November 4th, which a range of alts did, right? And since this bottom of November 4th, it did 8.3x's. Very few coins out there actually were able to do something like this. AI coins are definitely outperforming from this point of view. But the real question is whether or not you should be buying your AI coins at these levels in expectation of the move up, or maybe you would want to position to things that did not perform, did not do move like this in expectation that maybe they will actually show similar move out there, right? Obviously, you're not buying the bottom, and obviously you're not making 8x's. If I think you would be entering from these levels, but when buying high, you're also gaining something. You are gaining security, you are gaining safety. You know that this thing kind of did well recently. This thing is on the 50% dip, which is quite nice for altcoin, right? You can also leverage long this thing, I assume, at these levels, right? And from these points of view, might be quite nice. So we have our top of accumulation range right here. Real question is whether or not we will be topping it, right, and then moving back up. I honestly think that this is something that might be happening on a range of alts out there and should be happening. I do think that we should be gathering liquidity from these lows, because a lot of people are actually sitting in leverage longs below this level, thinking that they're not getting liquidated moving further. I do think this would be the ultimate price action by the market makers to liquidate people out there. And if you would essentially be able to leverage long the bottom, it's a nice 2.5x movement till the previous all-time high that we essentially just set. So from this point of view, if you entering somewhere right here, should be quite nice. This is the chart of Hash AI as well, showing some technical analysis and some levels that are present at this stage. And yeah, it's essentially showing that currently, I do think as well, should be a pretty nice level to be entering certain positions out there. Even if you want to build leverage longs, I do think it should be quite nice. Hash AI is also in the list of the top 5 AI coins at this stage. They have revenue share model, and they're actually distributing more than $1 million currently, following the rare revenue model from the mining operations, which is quite nice. Like, it definitely has real revenue. People do love to invest into coins like this. It's in the right narrative as well. Might be pretty strong projects. Unfortunately, you cannot leverage loan it anywhere at this stage. The market cap is also $100 million. FDV is at 115 million. So yeah, actually looks pretty nice. Actually looks great. And following this chart pattern, I do think that what might be happening currently is that we are forming a default cup and handle pattern that most of the assets are following in this market at this stage. And we might be at the bottom of the handle right now, which is in general the best point to enter. I actually quite like this one. Last but not least is ZKML, something that Alex Becker is pushing heavily and started to push it heavily quite recently. It's at $33 million market cap at this stage. 100% you cannot leverage loan this thing currently, but you definitely have the option to enter at quite low valuations. It only did 3x from the generational bottom of November 4th, right? To the current levels, right? And into the recent levels, it actually did somewhere around 6x out there. ZKML systems, narrative AI, ZKML combines zero-knowledge proofs, machine learning, and secure computation to prioritize data privacy. Market cap 50 million, right now 33 million, so we are at a very, very nice dip. Price 0.53, but right now it's lower, it's around 0.3. Narrative, real-world assets, actually it was performing quite nicely. It's crazy. Narrative AI, very nice thing as well. Yeah, so combination of the right narratives, nice price action. If you were essentially looking for a nice low cap to buy into, I think this might be the thing, especially with Alex Becker continuing to shield this thing. The mid-cap North Stars of AI are PAAL 0x0, multi-billion market caps in the future. That said, solid projects mixing deep in AI privacy altogether will make Lil Bro runs to PAAL 0x0 levels, 300 to 400 million market cap, which is for this one, for ZKML, is a 10x from here. Thus, I've taken huge stakes in Otter and ZKML, as well as taken advisory roles to help guide them in growth. Advisory role for the influencer like Alex Becker means that he is receiving a shit ton of coins. I noted to mention this thing on the channel and on his X post as well. Privatizing the pin plus the ability to privatize all transactions on any chain, ZKML is going to be so incredibly important to gaming and AI and endless other applications in crypto. Not to mention the actual Otter hardware that enables this. Thus, I'm rolling hard here. By far my most bullish narrative that pairs with my gaming thesis. Very, very interesting that he connects it, but the post was made in March, right? So it's essentially an older one, but I do remember him shilling it quite recently, this one as well. This one I actually do like too, just following the price action on the chart and following the outperformance, because again, very few coins recently had this type of movement, which means that people like Becker, they definitely do command liquidity in this AI space out there. He was mostly talking about AI. He was not talking about gaming in the recent pump. And AI was something that did quite well. Obviously, I do think it was supported by a general pump of the marketplace around AI coins too. Last but not least, I want to talk about AI agents, which are your AI coins for default market participants that want to have the option to make it big. The main reason for this is because all of these AI coins, the way they're structured currently, the ones that I mentioned from the Becker lists, is that you can really not make huge ton of money from there, because they never were at the bottom. They launched at large valuations right away, which means that a bunch of insiders and VCs have a bunch of tokens in the first place. They are the ones that are actually making the bank. If you're just entering from the market, you will be making some access, but quite a limited amount. So it's kind of like they're giving you this safety, right? So yeah, it's really like the next evolution to stocks, because stocks obviously they do have a bunch of insiders as well. And like if you want to really make it big in stocks, you need to hold for decades, right? And the main thing that actually helps to sustain the focus on the market, on these AI agents, is actually virtual protocol on Base, which is kind of like your pump fund for AI agents. It just gives the option for people to create their AI agents. There are essentially a bunch of them currently. We have things pumping like crazy. Something like Dora is up 63% on a daily. We have Vader absolutely crushing it in the last several days as well. It had a huge run up from $10 million, from $5 million to 120, and a range of other picks out there. Something like Game 2 is doing quite well at these levels. It just had a recent run up. It's at $300 million in market cap. One of the main issues with them is that I do think that as soon as we would be seeing a correction virtually happening, as we essentially just have seen recently, right, they will start to correct as well. Most of them will start to correct as well. And the current price action kind of feels like a blow off top, especially following the fact that I finally entered into some of them, right? I was definitely not able to catch this thing at the beginning, right? I missed most of the run, and currently at the blow of top I'm entering. So a very, very interesting situation out there. The coin I wanted to share that I essentially entered myself is Luminal by Virtuals. It's essentially like a combination of your based AI creatures and the infrastructure of virtual protocol itself. So the idea is essentially creatures from based AI, they are entities that are able to evolve. They're able to get in new context and change their behavior based on that. And essentially this infrastructure is connected to the protocol from the virtuals, which kind of creates the AI agents from it. So it's never ending to evolve AI agent out there that is taking inputs, right, and essentially growing by itself. It's like this interesting social experiment out there. It's quite hard to predict what will be happening with this thing moving further. I would say just treat this as a gamble. It is just one of the few charts in virtuals that did not pump like crazy yet. And this is essentially one of the main reasons why I entered this myself. So I've been talking for quite a while. This is the overview for today. Like this video if you like the content, and if you found it helpful. Thank you very much for watching this one. I'll be seeing you tomorrow. Stay healthy and rich. Bye-bye.